Anthony Joshua restored the faith in boxing there by doing that, and he had to do that.
What did I just watch? This is Paulie Malignaggi for Paulie TV. What did I just watch? All right? Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua is over. Thank God. Thank God it's over.
Sometimes a story ends in the way that the story should end. It always should have ended with Anthony Joshua knocking out Jake Paul. And that's exactly what we got.
I think Jake Paul had a reality check to all his bold predictions that he was going to do. Reality kicked in once he was stood there in that big 22-foot ring with Anthony Joshua in the corner.
But the bottom line is this. It took Anthony Joshua 6 rounds to stop YouTuber Jake Paul, who spent much of the fight not engaging and clinging to AJ's legs. At one point, the referee had warned the pair of them. The fans didn't pay to watch this crap. Joshua finally imposed himself by knocking down Paul twice in the 5th round, delivered a knockout blow, boom, in the 6th, and broke his jaw reportedly in 2 places. After the fight, Gareth A. Davis caught up with Joshua.
People will criticise you for going 6 rounds with Jake Paul. How do you feel about that?
I deserve it.
Why? Come on.
Because, like, we're elite fighters. Like, so I put myself in the shoes of a coach. If I was coaching Anthony Joshua and he went 6 rounds with Jake Paul, I would get him back in the gym tomorrow, give him a bit of a beating, and we're getting straight back to work, because I'll be like, how are you letting this kid take you 6 rounds? Are you crazy? But I can't go back in time.
Everything settled. Boxing analysts didn't hold back. What unfolded wasn't some shocking upset. It was a long-awaited reality check. This was confidence colliding directly with heavyweight physics. And, as always, physics won without mercy.
Stay away and disengage long enough to where he can be proud of going 6 rounds with Anthony Joshua. And it sounds like I'm being a hater. I'm not being a hater. I'm just saying what I saw, right? I don't think he was there to actually fight him. What was the game plan? Stick and move, try and lunge in, try and shoot in a takedown? No, that's not how you win a box.
The flashy experiment didn't end in confusion or controversy. It ended with damaged ribs, a shaken jaw, and that uncomfortable silence that hits when hype finally meets consequences. Still, credit where it's due. The guy showed serious courage.
Dude's got balls standing there with AJ, who had been off, so his chin is refreshed. He's ready to fight.
I'm not surprised that Anthony Joshua could have knocked Jake Paul out anytime he wanted to. He didn't want to.
So why didn't he?
Because, well, when you're on a platform like Netflix that turns 1-part episodes into a 6-part series, why would you think that part of their entertainment model is to have a 30-second fight? Why?
None of this should have surprised anyone who understands boxing even a little. Jake's rise had been carefully managed danger. Retired MMA fighters, past their prime names, and athletes whose main experience with punches came from other sports. Big promotion, viral moments, bold claims about changing boxing, then repeat.
That to him, for showing the balls that he did, for taking the fight in the first place, for not folding as soon as he got cracked with the right hand. There was one moment where he did get hit and he kind of buckled, and he had a look on his face like, oh, this is a real fight now. But he still stayed on his feet. And even like you said, when he got knocked down 4 times in all, he still got up. I mean, obviously the final knockdown, he didn't get up to beat the count, but he was on his rear end. He wasn't flat on his back out cold. And that was a heavy-duty right hand, the last one that landed. I think that's the one that probably broke his...
Then 2025 arrived, and suddenly Jake was standing across from Anthony Joshua, an Olympic gold medalist, former unified heavyweight champion, and a fighter shaped by real wars. Joshua entered with over 25 professional wins and multiple title runs, while Jake showed up with 13 fights and 0 experience against elite heavyweight fundamentals.
We know he's not a boxer, so he's still a little bit delusional, because he's really lucky that that's all he got out of that fight with was a broken jaw. I think it's broken 2 places, so that really should signal the end of his boxing. I'm not going to call it a career. It is what it is, but that should...
Knockouts all week. Joshua simply showed up to do his job. The early rounds were quiet in a dangerous way, controlled, patient, with no urgency as the ring slowly closed in. Jake tried to project belief, but his movement told another story, retreating, resetting late, reacting instead of leading. When a knockout came, it didn't shock anyone who had been honest about the matchup. In heavyweight boxing, reality doesn't warn you. It just arrives.
Anthony Joshua was a chiseled 250 in most of his fights or thereabouts. So from that standpoint, he had all the physical advantages as well as all the experience and skills advantages. So why couldn't he do it earlier? Because it's hard to catch up with a guy when he's just going to run around and never try to even take a front step whatsoever. So that
pride is understandable. 6 years ago, Jake was a YouTuber, and now he's taking shots that have dropped real heavyweights. That count for something. But surviving isn't the same as competing, and winning moments doesn't change outcomes. Reframing Joshua's layoff as some kind of tactical masterclass is clever. But let's be real, AJ wasn't searching for himself in that ring.
Are you telling me that Netflix probably emphasized, listen guys, take this as long as you can?
Yeah. So the bottom line is you take nothing from this. It was an entertainment product designed to get Netflix
But last week you said it wasn't scripted.
I think that ultimately Anthony Joshua's approach to it was what I said at the beginning. What I said was,
now you're telling us Netflix passed on a message, guys.
I'm saying that Netflix's modus operandi is to operate with this kind of principle, which is stretch the entertainment. Anthony Joshua goes in. I frame the question to these boys that have been in the ring. Could he go in there on an aroused mindset because he knows what he's dealing with? No. He goes in as a killer. He went in there with a mindset, knowing what he was dealing with, and took his time and had no reason to do anything other than get him out of there when he...
Kisa says he was shouting from ringside. It makes sense. When your fighter is borrowing time against heavyweight power, every second feels borrowed. The loyalty is admirable, but this felt less like a breakthrough and more like accepting that the ceiling exists. Jake showed heart, no doubt, but boxing doesn't reward moral victories. It measures impact, and impact always comes due.
He feels, disappointed that he lost, but as I said to him, he should be very proud in what he won. And what he won was showing the world that he's a capable boxer who hung in there with a Olympic gold medalist, two-time world champion, who's actually been recovering and being fresh for over 14 months. People are like, oh, he's rusty, he's been out of the ring. It's actually the opposite. He took a break. He let his body recuperate, right? And he was preparing for a fight in November. So that was...
Camera cuts to Paulie Malignaggi, looking like someone who instantly regretted buying front row seats. He wasn't analyzing. He was reacting in real time. His frustration came from disappointment, not hatred. From his view, Jake wasn't fighting. He was sprinting, clinching, slipping, and creatively buying seconds like a subscription plan. That honesty stung because it wasn't malicious, it was blunt. Paulie even gave Joshua credit, pointing out the obvious. Heavyweights aren't built to chase runners around massive rings. The funniest moment was Paulie admitting he almost left early, which said everything about the atmosphere. This wasn't edge-of-your-seat drama. It was disbelief. Jake talked big, looked the part, but boxed like someone avoiding confrontation. Paulie's line that 3 minutes of chaos would have earned more respect than 6 rounds of survival was harsh, but accurate. Boxing values intent more than endurance.
Watching it, what was happening?
Look, a lot of surrealism in terms of what I was seeing. For Jake Paul, who I met 6 years ago, who was a quote-unquote YouTuber, to be hanging in there, come into round 6, won at least 2 rounds in my mind of that fight, where the British media constantly say he's a novice. The novice went in there and showed an Olympic gold medalist from the United Kingdom.
Clemens checked in from Dubai with calm, clear analysis. He didn't exaggerate it. He broke it down simply. There were only 2 outcomes. Either Jake lands a miracle punch, or Joshua eventually reminds him this is heavyweight boxing. AJ didn't chase highlight reels. He applied pressure, stayed patient, drained the tank, and waited. That's veteran boxing. Jake stayed mobile because standing and trading was never realistic.
Something mind-boggling that just happened. I mean, think about you know what you could do for boxing if Netflix spent, what they make, 90 million each, whatever. You know, they say they make 50 million each. If you spent 100 million on boxing, you know what? You could completely resurrect boxing. You know the kind of fights you can make with $100 million in boxing. You know what the kind of the kind of traction boxing would have if you spent $100 million on boxing and made the best would fight the best easily.
Kisa says he was shouting from ringside. It makes sense. When your fighter is borrowing time against heavyweight power, every second feels borrowed. The loyalty is admirable, but this felt less like a breakthrough and more like accepting that the ceiling exists. Jake showed heart, no doubt, but boxing doesn't reward moral victories. It measures impact, and impact always comes due.
That led to Jake, as soon as he felt AJ putting his weight on him or pushing him down, hitting the floor, diving at AJ's knees, and then eventually Jake would go to clinch and immediately fall to the ground on his own. And this became a problem because then it looked intentionally like Jake was going to the ground. There was one time where Jake went to the ground and AJ kept swinging on him. That I didn't like to see, but this was Jake's survival of the fittest moment. This was Darwinism in a boxing ring, right? He had to do whatever he could to just extend the fight and get one more, hope and pray shot, one more step back. He had a great step back uppercut, I think in the fourth round that almost, it clipped AJ. Honestly, you could see what AJ had said in their face-to-face, that he needed to break Jake's soul.
Camera cuts to Paulie Malignaggi, looking like someone who instantly regretted buying front row seats. He wasn't analyzing. He was reacting in real time. His frustration came from disappointment, not hatred. From his view, Jake wasn't fighting. He was sprinting, clinching, slipping, and creatively buying seconds like a subscription plan. That honesty stung because it wasn't malicious, it was blunt.
Of him for going and doing it, and there's not any normal people on earth that would have done it. I don't care if you say, oh, for the money I would have, you're lying. And there's not many pro boxers that would have done what Jake did in stepping in with AJ, giving it his best shot. And, he wasn't anywhere near AJ's level. He just wasn't. He had the script flipped on him tonight, just levels to the game. He just did not have the skill, ability, power, size, speed, or endurance to hang with AJ. And that's the difference.
Paulie even gave Joshua credit, pointing out the obvious. Heavyweights aren't built to chase runners around massive rings. The funniest moment was Paulie admitting he almost left early, which said everything about the atmosphere. This wasn't edge-of-your-seat drama. It was disbelief. Jake talked big, looked the part, but boxed like someone avoiding confrontation. Paulie's line that 3 minutes of chaos would have earned more respect than 6 rounds of survival was harsh, but accurate. Boxing values intent more than endurance.